Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're back with another Dota 2 video. We're going to be covering one of my favorite offlane strategies in the current meta, and I want to discuss why I think Snot Rocket Bristleback is better than Seeing Red Bristleback. If you're a Bristleback fan, you know what I'm talking about. These are two facets. Basically, one of them incentivizes people to buy Ags. That's the Seeing Red facet. The reason why is the Ag shoots quills out of your backs. Is because the Ag shoots quills out of your back, and Seeing Red when you get hit in the back shoots out quills. So these things have positive synergy. However, the Facet Snot Rocket, which I think is much better, does a couple of things. It makes the armor loss per stack 1 better, which might not seem like a lot, but for an ability that's a 1.8 second cooldown, it adds up very, very quickly. It also makes it where when you get hit in the back, you launch goo instead of quills, which actually is quite good. We're going to talk about why. And on top of that, it increases the goo limit from 4 stacks to 6 stacks. This might not seem like a big deal, like do you really get that many stacks? But the reality is, in many cases, you do. You get it very easily on things like the Tormentor, Roshan, and even heroes in teamfights. I mean, at the end of the day, even your Shard applies 2 stacks of goo, and so having a facet that amps up the goo significantly is really good. I didn't even mention the fact that you have a goo cast range talent at 15, which actually is what most high MMR players take. It's so much cast range that you're really good as a frontliner and a gap closer because people simply can't kite you.
On top of that, go sign up to the gameleap website, guys. I'm posting new content over there almost every day, and I'll see you there.
Alright, so in the laning stage, what I think is particularly good about this version of Bristle is you have flexibility. You can skill up your Q because it's 4.5 armor reduction at level 1, which, I mean, for reference, a hero like Muerta has 4. A hero like Slardar, which this is going to be a support Slardar here, has 6, which is very high, right? That's pretty high armor. And so it's pretty nuts. Certain support heroes, most ranged supports, get absolutely bodied, and I mean bodied, by Bristleback. So yeah, the main ways you can play this hero, if it's not a good goo lane, for instance, if your position 4 is like a Nyx assassin and they don't have a ranged auto attack and he's not going to help you that much, well then the goo isn't nearly as good. The main value of the goo is to actually enable your support. So for instance, I love this replay because he's with Willow. I think Willow is one of the best in the game because Willow has a disable and one of the best right clicks in the game, right? This hero is naturally very, very good at getting out auto attacks. And so you'll see in this clip here, he's looking for the goo, not only on Muerta, but actually more importantly on Slardar. That's a 15% slow and immediately puts Slardar almost to negative armor. In fact, when the Slardar comes to contest the large camp, what we're going to watch him do here is come over and goo. He even looks for a kill, and in fact, that was a kill without the TP, but of course you're more than happy to force a TP. The next thing that's really great is it's only 12 mana. You have to keep in mind, Quill Spray is 35, and so for every 3 goos, you're getting only 1 quill. Now, what is the downside of this build? I would say the main downside is look at this damage, right? The Willow is just hitting so hard. The downside of this build is you don't have a way to push the wave, and you don't have a range creep secure early on. That's kind of another reason why I think it's very important to do this strategy with optimally a ranged position 4 or one of the dominating melee heroes like Marcy or Tusk, right? Because you just can't secure the range, right? You basically have to use goo on the carry to threaten them away. And honestly, the goo, like, if it's only you hitting, it's really not going to feel that good. That's been my experience from watching it and playing it. It's really just not that great unless you're actually getting help from your sub. So yeah, he continues to apply a couple stacks to the Muerta. Unfortunately, Willow gets outplayed here. And in terms of items, 2 branches into Bracers. Starting items, basically you can do a few different things for starting items. You can go Wand 3 branches, or you can go Circlet, Gauntlet, Tangos, and Stats. It's really nice to go quelling when you don't have Quill Spray because, again, the Quill Spray usually helps you get CS. So for his next item, I would of course suggest 2 different items. Number 1 is Boots. Number 2 is Magic Wand. This hero does need mana. At the end of the day, you still want to use your quills, and you're going to have 2 abilities, very low cooldown abilities. What's interesting though is look at his skill build. He actually doesn't take the second point in Quill Spray, and I don't mind this because honestly, Quill Spray from level 1 to 2, I used to think it was better than it actually is. It's solid, but it's not that overpowered, and so the casual point in E is honestly pretty nice. And again, you're going to see the kill potential of Goo Bristleback in a moment here. Applies his stack to Muerta to try to push her away, and the Slardar doesn't really look like he's very low on health, but with 1 go from the Willow, he's able to just take him down. And again, the armor reduction from the Q and from the Facet amps up quill damage as well. So it's even good with the quills. It makes the quills more effective by a lot, actually. So yeah, I do find that the boots are a little bit weird here. I can't say I exactly recommend this. I think the next 2 items that I would typically recommend are raindrops, another set of tangos, and magic wand. This hero needs a lot of mana at the end of the day, and you don't want to go mana boots on this build at all. In fact, I think you can also buy a null talisman instead of bracer if the lane is really, really easy. Right, in this lane, there's quite a bit of threat from Huerta and Slardar. It's not an easy lane, and so it's better for him to have the health, but if it's some like Spectre and Clockwork, then yeah, you can be a bit more greedy and go for a null. So for his next item, he ends up picking up phase boots, which I think is fine, right? With the Snot Rocket build, mainly people are trying to play very fast-paced, and the second item that you're typically going to buy is Pipe. And so it's really good to round out your defenses by buying armor from phase boots, right? Kind of having that mix. And he ends up going Lotus after Pipe, which we're going to talk about as well. But yeah, the phase boots, pretty straightforward. You're going to chase people down, stick on top of them. I think this game, it's fine. I also think power treads are generally a broken item, one of the best items in Dota, and so you can also go treads. Treads are totally fine. They're also really good at farming, much better at farming than phase boots, and so I actually, even on Snot Rocket, lean towards saying that treads are better. So a couple things after that, you're going to pick up a Soul Ring, which I love. You're going to go Soul Ring, and then you're going to go a Ring of Tarask for the Pipe. He actually does a bit of a different build, and there's some variation here. So after the Soul Ring, which is basically a must-buy, you do want to try to get a neutral item that gives regen. That's best case scenario, Seeds of Serenity or Safety Bubble. Royal Jelly is okay as well. And then, honestly, I'm kind of a big fan because when you're buying Pipe, you have a lot of options for the first component. Like, truly, you can buy Cloak, you can buy Headdress, or you can buy Tarask. It kind of depends. If your game is really good, it's super nice to rush Ring or Tarask, so you basically have infinite regen, and you can take Ancients without sacrificing any health, and that's great. If the game is really difficult, I recommend buying the Headdress just for a bit of extra sustain. In this game, I guess he feels there's a lot of magic damage from the Lina and the Nyx and the Hoodwink and the Muerta, and so he picks up the Cloak. I'm not a huge fan of the Cloak because you really need regen, like really bad to use this Soul Ring, and also just to tank camps, especially the Ancients. And so yeah, I definitely think that Headdress or Ring of Tarask is what I'd recommend, but he gets blessed with the Seeds of Serenity. So in terms of farming in the early game, you don't really want to roam too early. Best case scenario, you get to drag the wave like he's doing here. This is what you want to aim for, right? Dragging the wave together, pretty straightforward. To a camp, you spam your quills, you put your seeds on the ground, and you rinse repeat, right? And this is what you want to do every single game. You do not want to roam unless you have to. Roaming is just not efficient on a hero like Bristle. Not that he's terrible at it, right? You do have the Goo Facet. It's not bad, but compared to the rate of farm and the timing you can hit, by playing a little bit greedy on this hero, it's just not worth it. And also, you'll see at this point of the game, this is why the Cloak is kind of trash in my opinion, and I don't really get it. Yes, again, you might get ganked by Lina, or like a Nyx this game, or most scary, I guess, is Hoodwink ulti, but for the most part, you want to start taking Ancients, and you'll see it here. Puts down the seeds, and you farm Ancients fine. You might think, oh, I can't take them, because if I turn my back, I'm going to shoot out Goo, but the Goo, again, amps the damage of the quills. That's what people forget, you know? It does make it faster. It's still good. As he maxes out his Q here, you don't have to do this, actually. It's totally not necessary, funny enough, even with the Goo Facet. If you want to be tanky and you just want to be hard to gank, you can still max your E. Like, I think maxing the Q is pretty unnecessary. In fact, I really think that the most unnecessary point is the last point, because the base armor loss at level 3 caps out. Right, going from 3 to 4 doesn't improve the base armor loss, and so the value point, in my opinion, for sure is the third point. And so I think it's much better to take attack speed or mana regen at level 10. Personally, I'm a big believer in attack speed on this build. I think it's almost necessary. A lot of people don't take it, but I think it's necessary because especially with phase boots, you have limited attack speed, and with your ulti, you hit really, really hard. You have so much damage that, well, you know, the best way to maximize flat damage is attack speed. So yeah, he picks up his Ring of Tarask, which again, should be slotted in, definitely better than Cloak, as you will be consistently missing HP on this hero, and he's farming. Again, this hero, best case scenario, you get to chill. You get to just continue to take your Ancient rotation, cut waves, take the tower, right? Very, very chill. And then once you have Pipe, you're kind of ready to go. The best timing on this hero, actually, is going to be your Shard. The Shard is what makes Bristleback broken. But you don't need to wait for it. With the Ags build, you kind of do because you're not that tanky. But with Pipe, you're so tanky, and with the Goo Facet, you're so deadly that it makes a lot more sense to get active much earlier than the Aghanim Scepter build, where typically you want to wait for Shard before you get active. You're going to farm Ancients until minute 15. But yeah, in this team fight here, every single goo, and I just want you guys to realize this, every goo is 7 armor reduction. Like, I don't know. To me, that's insane. Okay, that's not true. The first goo, my bad, is 7. Then after that, it's 4, right? So basically, first goo is 7, second goo is 11. I mean, right, a hero like Lina under the tier 2 has 14. Without it, she has 9. And look at that damage. Oh, the chunk. I gotta play that back. 1 stack, 2 stacks. It's for 100 something. I mean, the right clicks are basically pure. And again, the quills just deal more damage. So you're way better at solo killing people. Like, I can't emphasize how notable it is. Like, how much better you are at solo killing people. And you might say, oh, it's only 1 armor. But yeah, it's also the fact that you're maxing the Q. As I said, you don't have to do that, but it is definitely good. He decides to TP bottom here. Again, I mean, he's going kind of a weird skill build. I think either of the talents are better than the point in E, actually. I definitely disagree with that a little bit. But yeah, he picks up his shard. It's good to buy a clarity. This hero will run out of mana for sure. So make sure you have raindrops. That should be the empty slot. Some people will buy Windlace. That's okay. But raindrops are very good as well. Oh, look at the survivability. And this is why I love this version of Bristle. Much bigger fan of this build than Ags, because Bristle is a frontline hero. In order to deal damage, you need to go close, right? Even with Ags. Ags, you can have a little bit of distance, but still, you got to get pretty close. And so with this build, you can actually run in, and this is where the shard comes into play. 1 usage of the hairball, guys, is minus 11. 11. AoE, negative 11 armor. I mean, to be fair, seeing red, I believe is 9, but like, to be fair, that 2 armor, guys, makes a big difference because you're trying to put people into the negatives. I mean, this Slaughter into the negative, this Lina into the negative. And when people go into the negatives, they take a bonus 8%. Minus 2 armor is 8%. That is a huge number. Huge number from only 2 armor, right? And so it makes a big difference, right, in killing these people. And look, he can run through Alina. To be fair, he's a little bit of bad against amp damage, or yeah, the Slaughter ulti, but so is the Ags build, so it doesn't really, it's not different in that regard. But yeah, with the Ags build, you're just much squishier, and he would have died. The reality is, it wouldn't have been close. Ends up dying, unfortunately, to the last bounce of the Acorn shot. A little unfortunate, but he sets up a very favorable fight for his team, where the Alk is able to clean up, and the Slaughter almost died. So for the next item, I don't really like what he buys. I mean, I get why he's buying it. He's buying a Lotus Orb. He's against Slaughter, right? I imagine the reason's pretty simple. His armor is kind of bad, but honestly, they don't have physical damage. Their carry is even a Muerta, so I personally think that this Lotus is pretty terrible. Main reason why is my belief in Pipe. I have 2 beliefs in Pipe. Number 1, the item is really good with HP because it's flat resistance. It gives regen and it gives health. And so the longer you're alive, the better resistances and HP regen is. And so you want to get health. Lotus Orb does not give health except for technically the health you get from the armor, which is underwhelming, especially in this game. And on top of that, Sanjin Yasha is broken with Pipe in my opinion. Because it gives HP, like I was mentioning, but also because it amps the regen that Pipe gives by a very high amount. I believe it's 20 or 25%, and Pipe gives 14. So basically, it's actually more than that. It's 16.5 because of the passive. So yeah, I just think that it's much better to buy Sanj. The Sanj timing with Pipe makes you significantly tankier. It kind of removes a lot of the breakpoints, the burst potential from certain heroes like Alina. It just completely stops it, where Lotus, it just doesn't help. But yeah, in this team fight, look how he can frontline. And Ags Bristle, it just kind of can't do this. Like, he would have died here, and that's why I have such a problem with that build. It's really greedy, and what you need to do if you do decide to try Ags Bristle, guys, or you look into it because of this video, you need to play hyper greedy and play for super late timings. Like, I think Ags Bristle comes online like strictly at Bloodstone or Shard. Until then, it's like you're basically a pick-off hero. You're a hard carry, and people don't understand that, and it's also just greedy for the offlane. It can work, but it's definitely greedy. And so yeah, at this point in the game, he's just wiping through the map. You can kind of just run around, take all the tier 1s, get active, and the shard is just so damn broken at this point of the game because it's just incredible gap close. It's been nerfed recently as well, multiple times, funny enough, but it does not matter. The gap close is insane. As he takes the goo, the goo cast range of 15, pretty standard, minus armor, putting Slaughter into the negatives, and they take him out. Also, this is one of the best Tormentor heroes in the entire game, and that's great. Tormentors are really broken, and this hero, minus armor in general, is really overpowered against Tormentors, so that one is huge. Makes it super easy for your team. And also, Roshan is really easy, so your hero is much better at enabling objectives. To be fair, the other Bristle's pretty good as well, But that extra 2 stacks, it makes a big difference, right? That's an extra -8 armor that you just wouldn't have otherwise. It makes these Tarms and Roaches significantly faster. And also, I can't stress how good I think the AoE goo is. In fact, I often think it's better than the other one, just the general value you're getting out of it. Now, the weakness of Snot Bristleback is if you get gone on alone, it's way worse than the Quills, because with the Quill build, you can kind of like turn and 1v9, but with this build, it's more of a teamfight build, right? But you're really high value. For instance, here, teamfight breaks out. It looks pretty bad, actually. They lost multiple heroes. The beginning of the fight was kind of sus, and he's going to start to get poked by the supports, but you'll notice, as they get some stacks, the stacks here actually end up resetting, at least on a Slaughter, but they make the mistake of going on him, and when they go on him here, he's going to shoot out that goo, and it ends up applying. Oh, it applied to the Hoodwink. I didn't even see. -19? Like 19, look at these auto attacks. Dude, that Alk auto attack. Oh my gosh. That Alk hit him for like 300. He's hitting for like 2 something, right? And that's what I'm talking about, right? This armor at -19. Look at this auto attack. Doosh! That Quill did 300. It's unbelievable, and that's why you just need to stay alive, right? Getting gone on with this hero and shooting at these AoE goos is way better than AoE Quills. I mean, the Quills become good once you get enough, right? Once you get like 6, 7, 8. But like with the goo, you just need 2 or 3 on a couple subs, and like, man, those heroes are miserable. If they get caught out by any sort of physical damage, they're just gonna get cooked. And alright, in terms of neutral item, if you go Treads and you go Sange and Yasha instead of Lotus, you do need armor, so you should be aiming for an armor neutral item. That's something you definitely want to keep in mind in terms of items. As I said, Sange and Yasha is a no-brainer. It gives you HP regen amp, it gives you movement speed, and it gives you attack speed, which, again, is fantastic. Like, Sange and Yasha is a broken item, and it's hyper-broken on Bristle. Another reason why I think that this hero can be really, really good is, oh, what a box. Big box, big box. Yeah, in terms of items afterwards, BKB is totally fine. In a lot of games, you still will need it to get rid of things like Silver Edge, right? So BKB, totally reasonable. I think Blink Dagger is fine just to really get into the fight quicker. You can go items that just make you even tankier. Any of the resistance or aura items are totally fine, like a Crimson Guard or an AC or a Shiva's. If you need to frontline and you need more armor, you can just adjust it to the game. Magic damage, BKB, or control, BKB. Armor can just be AC, right, or Shiva's, depending on, you know, what you want to do to the enemy team, what is actually better. But okay, that's going to be all for today's video. In terms of future talents, I guess to cover them, I think at 10, as I was saying, I like the attack speed. At 15, you take Goo. At level 20, I think HP regen is just way better, especially with Sange and Yasha. I mean, 25 HP regen is an incredible stat on a hero like Bristle that, again, will amp it with the Sange and Yasha and just get so much value out of it because he lives for so damn long. And so to me, HP regen way better than Quill Stack damage because of this Facet. And at level 25, I would go for Warpath damage per stack for sure. That's going to be all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.